Good morning, church. Let's talk about Mark chapter 9. Uh, this is kind of in the middle of a section where Jesus is talking a lot about his death. He's trying to show the disciples his purpose here, that he is here to fulfill all righteousness, to be killed, and then to be raised as the Lord of all creation, offering salvation to God's people. And they're not getting it. It's a hard concept if you're not expecting it, if you're not looking for it. I could understand the confusion. But the transfiguration is a very concrete way that Jesus is trying to convey to his disciples, this is who I am. This is what's happening. So what happens is he takes his three closest disciples, Peter, James, and John, up onto this mountain. And once he's up there, there's a bright light, and Elijah, who was called the king of prophets, and Moses, who gave the Torah and wrote the Pentateuch, and was this huge figure in the understanding of God's word in the Old Testament. And they are talking back and forth with Jesus. And that's not just, commentary. That's not just, this is what they were doing. That's important because Elijah it represents all of the major and minor prophets in the Old Testament to the Jewish people. He is, the center of that idea that if he's talking with Jesus, it's as if those Old Testament prophets are concrete and they're manifest here in Elijah, and they're in communication. They are a part of who Jesus is, and he's a part of what they were. And the same thing is true of Moses. The law and all of those foundational stories about Adam and Eve, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, coming out of the land of Egypt, all of those things are represented and manifest in the person of Moses. And here he is pouring into Jesus, and Jesus is receiving and pouring into him. And it's a back and forth conversation. And for those two men to be in conversation with Jesus is a huge statement to say the Old Testament is part of who Jesus is, and Jesus is speaking back into who they are and what they mean. That back and forth is so important. It's such a big thing, and makes Jesus the center of all of that stuff. And then God speaks and he says, this is my son, and listen to what he has to say. And there's another bright light, and those two have gone away. And that's not to say that the Old Testament should be wiped away. We read the Old Testament, we teach it to our children because it's part of who Jesus is. But because those men go away, what we're supposed to see is that Jesus is supreme. All those things that they have to say that are good and important would be meaningless, would be lost if we took away the lens of Jesus. And so Jesus has shown Peter, James, and John this really important message about himself. I am the focal point of everything God has been trying to do since Adam and Eve, and everything that God is going to do until the end of time, the consummation when my kingdom will be made whole again. And I think it's really interesting that as they're walking down the mountains, they asked him, why does he say why do the scribes say that Elijah must come first? They're talking about old prophecies, that Elijah would return. And Jesus says, Elijah does come first to restore all things. And how is it written of the Son of Man that he should suffer many things and be treated with contempt? He's saying, Elijah's coming, and this prophecy is true. But it says that the man that Elijah's coming to announce is going to suffer. How can that be true? He says, I tell you that Elijah has come, and they did to him whatever they pleased. Meaning that they tortured him. They looked down on this Elijah, this John the Baptist, who came to announce Jesus. They looked down on him. They made fun of him. They cast him out into the wilderness and spat on him and made fun of his followers. And Jesus says they did to him what they did. They're going to do the same thing to the Messiah that was foretold, just like they would Elijah. And it wouldn't matter if Elijah himself came back and manifest in person, because they do the same thing to him. And it wouldn't matter if Moses came and proclaimed Jesus, because they would do the same thing to him. And now they're going to do the same thing to me. It doesn't matter to them that I'm the focal point, because what they want is power, and they want position for themselves. Seek me. I am the focal point. I am the relationship you need. That's what Jesus is saying to his disciples. He's gonna die. He's gonna be tortured. And we'll follow in his footsteps in suffering. But he says, this is truth. This is life.